All right, we are back for our. I don't know. You guys do you keep track of what show it is? I don't remember. I'm just kind of we're here. Jennifer's joining me. Jennifer, good evening.
Hey, how you doing?
I am doing well, doing very very well. Those of you who have been following us in January know that we're talking about Mobile Beat Las Vegas 2017. And Jennifer, this is going to be your year to be on stage at Mobile Beat
Very
Las.
excited. Looking forward to it.
Now this is will this be your first time of speaking at a DJ convention?
First time at specifically at a DJ convention. Yes, I've done a lot of speaking at general event industry and wedding industry and creative conferences and things like that. But first time at Mobile Beat.
Awesome, awesome. Now let's talk about when you're going to be speaking and a little bit about what you're going to be talking about.
Fantastic. So I am speaking on Wednesday morning. I'm very excited about it. I am speaking on the business side of running a DJ company, which is something I'm really passionate about. And my topic is called Consistency is King, why building brand integrity is so important and exactly how to do it.
Very cool. And of course, the branding is something that we hear of a lot, but it's a kind of an elusive goal for a lot of us, or an elusive target. Let's put it that way. Is this something that for those who are wanting to have and solidify their branding, is this something that they should be attending?
Absolutely. I think that really building a solid brand is key to your business growth. If you want your DJ company to be able to expand beyond just yourself, the owner, and you want to be able to build the kind of reputation that you're going to be known for and that will continue to earn enough referrals to really sustain a larger team, then building that brand consistency and integrity is so essential. And that's what we're going to be going over is how to do that.
You mentioned consistency, and that's a word when I have had this discussion with small business owners, because with our local community, I do a lot of consulting with some of the smaller businesses, and that consistency is so huge. Can you talk just a little bit about why consistency is so important when it comes to branding your business?
Absolutely. In my experience, when most people start a DJ company, it tends to be just themselves as the owner. They start out, they're passionate about the craft of DJing. They really have a lot of skin in the game. It's high stakes for them. They're out there delivering generally a great experience, but the problem becomes, how do you replicate that as you want to grow your team? If you want to continue to build a lucrative DJing career and expand your DJ roster, you need to be able to do that in a way that doesn't throw out all of the hard work that you've put into building your brand and what you're known for. So when you're able to really replicate what you do and have people out there representing your team and really uh, that are out there in the field as ambassadors for you, that's how you are able to build that trust. When you're able to send any DJ that you choose to hire and train out into the field bearing your company name, and have those clients and those vendors and the other referral sources receiving the same quality of experience that you, the owner, would deliver, that's what we're talking about when it's consistency. It needs to be beyond just what your performance skills or customer service skills are as the DJ company owner. It needs to expand to everyone that's on your team.
For sure, because as you say, they're representing you and the business, and if they don't, then there's a lot of holes that are going to be developing really quickly in your business.
And that's scary. I mean, it's absolutely terrifying, as a company owner, if you've really worked your tail off to build a great reputation and build those great relationships and referral sources. It's scary to send somebody out there, to represent your company. So when you can build that consistent brand identity and experience and really apply it with integrity, then that's how you're able to kind of let go of the reins a little bit and expand your reach.
You're talking about the identity, the brand identity, of course. Now that it can be shown, you're mentioning that in the work that the people do that are under you, but I mean, there is, even in your advertising and marketing, there is some branding involved with that needs a level of consistency also in identity. Kind of talk about that a little bit, because sometimes I think that's an area that a lot of people overlook, because they have a different variations of their branding on their different mediums that they use.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that a lot of times, the first thing that we think of when we think of branding tends to be kind of that aesthetic, the visuals and your logo and your business name and the colors that you use and stuff like that. The problem is that a lot of people don't really put a lot of planning and thought into kind of a larger scale brand identity. So they're not really invested in it. They're not attached to it. And so therefore they're flip-flopping around, they're changing. We probably all know of companies that have changed their logo and their website. It's like every year they've got a different look, probably because they haven't really dug deep to figure out really what sets them apart, and to develop a more consistent brand image that resonates with them as the owner. I think having that authenticity and having your brand really reflect what differentiates you in the market is really key. And then of course, then you can kind of invest in the aesthetic part of it, the logo that you're going to use, of course, your brand name, the color palette, the fonts, the graphics, all of that stuff kind of comes second to really deciding who you are and what you're about in your market.
One thing I have had people talk about and ask about is the idea that, okay, so I have my DJ company and I want to be a wedding DJ. And I have branded my DJ company as, Fast Eddie's DJ Company. And that's what I've been doing for a long time, but it's not very wedding-esque. How difficult is it in this day and age to basically rebrand a company?
That's kind of a trick question in a sense of, it's difficult in the sense that it requires some intention and some effort. You have to come up with a plan for sure, because I'm always a fan of saying that, the things that you do online in one aspect of your business, they follow you, and so, you can definitely seem inauthentic, I would say, if you immediately spin from being, Fast Eddie's DJ service to suddenly trying to be, Elegant Eddie's wedding service,
Right.
With really there being some thought behind it. So I think that taking inventory of why you want to do weddings. Hopefully there's a little bit of a reason beyond the fact that the money is good, although that is a big factor for
part,
us.
yes.
But really what it is about, what kind of service are you going to provide to those weddings? What kind of clientele are you going to be going after? What kind of venues and vendors are you going to be trying to solicit as referral sources? And then I think that you need to create a separate business plan for your wedding business. You need to have an idea of how you're going to brand yourself and market yourself and what kind of a budget you're going to operate with. And then from that point, when you have some intention behind it, you can absolutely launch another website that's, Elegant Eddie's wedding service,
Right.
vision of, or you can certainly, I'm a big fan of telling your authentic story. So you can certainly in your about page or your bio page, talk about how you came up, in the DJing world, but really also then go into why you've decided to expand to weddings.
Very, very good. Very good.
Entirely possible.
It is definitely possible, and those are some of the things that a lot of struggle with. The other aspect I was thinking about is even before they have done much branding as a single system operator, and I know that we have a few that are watching that are kind of just kind of starting. They're getting into it, but they really haven't established their first brand.
Sure.
And that's probably the other side of it, is that they have been kind of doing that shotgun approach. Hey, I like that font. I'm going to use that for my Fast Eddie's DJ font. Oh wait, I like this little swirly. I'm going to put that into my logo for this. You mentioned, of course, they change often. How important is it to nail that down? And what are some ways that they could find out what's going to be the most effective for them to nail down that brand so they can move forward?
Sure. If you have the luxury of seeking out information like something, like this interview before you really launch a brand, that's a great thing. If you are already seeking that kind of stuff out, you can really do more of what I was saying in terms of putting some thought into who you are and what kind of company you want to run. What kind of values guide your business? What kind of clientele do you want to serve? What makes you really good at what you do? And by putting that kind of thought into it before you even really get into launching a brand, you're going to end up with something that feels more natural to you as a business owner and that you can represent more effectively than if you just grab at a cool logo. I've worked as a consultant with a lot of small business owners, including DJs who, they had a friend of a friend design a really slick logo and it has, some kind of a little design motif they like in a cool font. But they're not really feeling attached to it. That's not something that they really put a ton of planning and thought into. I would say it's always beneficial to put stock into the why behind your business, who you are, why you do what you do, and what sets you apart, and you're going to have a more effective brand. That being said, there is no shame in rebranding. Every major business does it. You can think of, the biggest companies in the world have all rebranded at some point. my company is rebranded, at a certain point, you're not going to operate a business for, 5, 10, 15 years without wanting to change it up a little bit and to apply a little bit of what you've learned along the way. Because a lot of this in business ownership, it's trial and error for all of us, and so there's definitely no shame in seeking out a rebrand. But if you want to rebrand yourself, I would suggest doing what we all wish we could have done at the beginning, which would be to put some thought into that, to seek out some professional advice. You can DIY a lot of stuff, but do the research first. And that way you'll be able to rebrand and have that second or third or fourth brand work better than the ones before it.
Sure. Any suggestions, again, from the aspect of if a person's wanting to brand into a wedding arena, and I know that's a direction that some are looking at, moving into that. Are there certain or people that you could run that brand idea past and see if it's going to be something that would stick and work? Or, I mean, who? Because most of our DJs are probably guys. We're talking, 30 to 50-year-old guys who are wanting to, go out and do weddings. Well, now they're trying to appeal to a 20-something-year-old bride. How do they know if their branding is going to work with that in that community?
I'm going to take a guess that if a DJ is interested in getting into weddings, he's probably done or she's done a few weddings before just by chance, been hired somebody. My recommendation, honestly and truly, is to approach a few professionals in your market that you trust. Hopefully everybody who's watching this has, relationships with a few people out there, whether it's a coordinator at a venue, whether it's a photographer, something like that, a day of planner. And really, don't be afraid to run ideas by a couple of people that you trust in your market. I'm a pretty candid person. I say that people like to feel smart. They like to feel like their opinion is valued. But there is no shame. I've done it myself many times where, have a conversation. Say, I have done some weddings. Here's what I love about them. Here's what I want to do differently in the wedding market here. Does this sound like something that would appeal to your clients? Or do you have any feedback for me on this? People are usually not shy to offer some opinions for you, on that. You can also talk to people in your market, in terms of other vendors and venues. Talk to them about their pain points. What do they hate about working with other DJs? I'm not ashamed to say that my company, a big part of how we built our success was being the opposite of what a lot of other DJ companies were doing in our market at that time. And so by offering something different, by not doing, some of the behaviors that we were told was upsetting, let's say, to referral sources, just by doing the opposite of that, you're suddenly the hero, if that makes sense. So don't be afraid to reach out and kind of mastermind with some other people out there whose opinion you respect, for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. And there's a lot of great resources, and having them on your side, and once they know that you're trying to improve and you're trying to serve your customers better, just helps to build that relationship thing again, but then the referral, because they're like, hey, this person really cares.
Yeah. And I'll say this, one of the biggest differences between running weddings and my company specializes in weddings. I'd say between 90 and 95% of the business that we do are high-end weddings. And more than just a DJ, you're there as a problem solver. You're there as a leader, as somebody who's there to guide the events that are going on, but you're also going to come into contact with so many people at that wedding, all of the vendor team, all of the people that work at the venue. And simply by being aware of what their concerns are and what's important to them, you're going to make a much stronger impression than if you walk in. You might be the most incredible performer in the world, but if you've angered people by, standing on their furniture or sticking tape on their wall or something like that, you're never going to get a referral from there. I posted a blog post a couple of years back about the secret to getting on venues' referral lists is just to figure out how not to piss them off, basically. Figure are. And don't be afraid to go right to those contacts and say, I'm going to be your best friend at these events. I'm never going to break your rules. I'm going to do the things that show respect, for you and your team. And they appreciate that because that's the opposite of what a lot of people do.
It's interesting when you mentioned doing the opposite of what the other DJs were doing in the community, how much that was part of our mantra in the late 90s and early 2000s also, because you would hear the horror stories from the venues specifically. And it's like, just by not doing some of the things,
Yeah, I always say it's funny. It was easier coming up in a way because there were so many DJs out there doing some kind of off the wall things that, that left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. And now I think it's great that the industry has been elevated so much, but it makes it a little bit harder to stand out. You can't stand out on etiquette alone, which is why really also considering what you bring to clients that differentiates you. Not just what you bring to other vendors, but what you actually bring to clients, and who you are uniquely qualified to serve. That is going to be key in building your brand too.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, because that's part of, as you say, who you are and where you're going to go with that.
Yeah,
You mentioned a business plan earlier, and that's of course something that strikes fear into the heart of many small business owners.
sure.
If someone doesn't have a business plan, where would they? I mean, and I know this is a huge topic. Drax and I have dug into this one left and right and back and forth. So I mean, we've got we've got hours of video. But
Sure.
if someone hasn't done that, is there what's the baby step to get started in the business plan world?
The very first thing is just reminding yourself that it's never too late. You can have been running a business for 20 years without a plan. It is never too late to, take stock of what you're doing now and to make a plan for going forward, even if that means undoing some bad decisions in the past. So it is never too late to start with a plan. There are a lot of great resources online for free or for cheap. If you're interested, for example, in running a more wedding focused business, a site that I love is sageweddingpros.com. They have so many free and super inexpensive resources, including business planning templates, things along that line that will get you started on identifying the expenses that you have and what you're going to do to market and what's going to set you apart in your marketplace and things like that. So definitely going on and finding some guidance that way is a really smart starting point for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Somebody mentioned the Small Business Association has a book on planning, and
Absolutely.
there's so many resources. And I think probably the most important part, Jennifer, that you just said was it's never too late to start.
Absolutely. I think that honestly, for people who've been in the business for a long time, and I'm starting to count myself in there too, it's very easy to get attached to your original brand or your original way of doing things or your original business model. And I've seen more business owners kind of drive themselves into the ground by getting stuck on their original idea. And I don't know exactly where it comes from. I don't know if it's that we all have egos and it's hard to, accept that maybe our very first go round wasn't, the genius out of the gate, kind of a plan, but being flexible and being willing to evolve in how you do things and how you represent your company, I think that that's key because wedding trends and event trends are evolving all the time. Music evolves. We've got to be able to evolve with it for sure.
And that kind of leads me to where I was thinking here is when do we know when our brand is failing and we need to rebrand or we need to switch, or that it's just a wedding trend that may just not fit for this moment, but it's just a trend and it will change. And is there a way to know when it's time to change?
On the topic of trends, that's kind of a little bit of a hot button for me in that I always say, I mean, wedding trends and design trends and things like that, they come and go. But when you think about it, I mean, all kinds of people get married, you know what I mean? And
Hmm.
so whatever you're into as a person, whatever, whether it's musically, your personality, things like that, there are plenty of couples out there that are into that would dig you as their DJ, so you don't need to obsess too much on the latest trends. You need to really focus your efforts on finding the right people. And so when it's time to consider tweaking your brand, to me, it's when your sales meetings aren't closing, not only your actual sales presentation, but when you're not drawing in people that are already kind of pre-sold on you into your sales consultations. The point of your brand is creating a perception among prospective clients and referral sources, and really communicating who you are and what you do, and again, what sets you apart. So if you're finding that the people that are coming to you aren't super psyched to be working with you before they even met you, it's probably time for a brand adjustment, because what it's saying is that the people that are meeting with you, they're not connecting with your brand. Maybe they just need a DJ and your availability checker on your website said you were open, or maybe they heard from Susie Q at the hotel where they're getting married that you're a great DJ, but they're not connected with you yet. When your brand is on point, you're going to find that the kind of people that you want to work with are naturally coming to you for sales consultations. And all they're there for in the sales consultation is just to see that you're not an idiot. They're pre-sold, they're excited to work with you. They've heard great things. They're just there to confirm all of the great things they already believe about your company. So if you're getting the wrong people at your sales consultations, or if, I hate to say it, if the wrong vendors are referring you, and
Yes.
then that's another key, that maybe your brand isn't being communicated well enough. You can like all kinds of people in your market. You can like all kinds of vendors. That doesn't mean that they're all a great fit for you branding wise.
For sure. And you see that's one of the big things that we talk about is when DJs who have been working in this arena with this set of vendors and this set of venues, and as they're trying to evolve their business and grow it into a more of a mid-level or a higher level business, that sometimes you're changing your audience, you're changing your crowd, you're changing your network as
Yeah,
you're changing, in essence, the brand of your business.
it's true. I mean, and you have to constantly be willing to take stock of what's working and not working. How many of the referrals that you're getting, how many of those are you closing? Where do you seem to be losing people? What are the reasons that people are giving you for not booking with you? All those things will give you clues if you're heading in the right direction.
Yes, good stuff. Jennifer, if people would like to get in touch with you here, because we're just about out of time, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Sure. So the first would be certainly through my DJ website, which is just mydj, MYDEEJAY.com. You can check out what we're doing there, and you can contact us through the form or through my email at jennifer@mydj.com. I also have a website just at jenniferreitmeyer.com that's about my consulting with DJs and other business owners, speaking, things along that line. So you can always contact me through there as well.
Great. Good stuff, Jennifer. And you'll be speaking, was that Wednesday morning?
Yep. Wednesday morning, I believe it's 10:15. Super excited about it. Hope to see a lot of you there.
Yep, that's coming up quickly now. Goodness, it's not that far away.
I know. Yep.
Good stuff, Jennifer. We're going to step away here for just a couple of minutes. We'll be back in about 6 minutes here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, with our next show. Jennifer, thanks for being on with me tonight.
Much for having me. See you soon.